Japan, a land where ancient tradition meets cutting-edge technology. A nation shaped by emperors. Samurai, isolation, war, destruction, and unbelievable rebirth. Today, we journey through thousands of years, from the earliest humans on the islands, to the rise of the samurai, to World War II, and Japan's transformation into one of the most influential cultures on Earth. This is the entire history of Japan. The story of Japan begins over 30,000 years ago, when the first humans reached the islands. But the real foundations of Japanese culture begin during the Jōmon period around 14,000 BC. These early people created some of the world's oldest pottery, lived in small communities, hunted, gathered, and worshipped nature spirits. Around 300 BC, a new wave of people arrived, the Yayoi. They brought rice farming, metal tools, and social classes. Villages grew into kingdoms. And among these early kingdoms, one would eventually rise above them all. Around the 3rd century, the Yamato clan emerged in central Japan. They claimed descent from the sun goddess Amaterasu, creating the world's oldest continuous monarchy. The Yamato rulers united the clans, forming the beginnings of the Japanese state. During this era, Japan looked to China for inspiration, writing, Buddhism, philosophy, government systems. Temples rose. Literacy grew. Japan began shaping its identity, balancing Chinese ideas with native beliefs like Shinto. In 710, Japan built its first permanent capital, Nara. Buddhism spread, art flourished, and emperors grew powerful. But in 794, the court moved to a new capital, Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto. Here began one of Japan's most elegant eras. The Heian period produced classics like The Tale of Genji, often called the world's first novel. Court nobles lived in a world of poetry, beauty, and ritual. But behind the elegance, political control weakened. Power shifted into the hands of warriors, men who would shape Japan for centuries. Two warrior clans dominated the land, the Taira and the Minamoto. Their rivalry exploded into the Genpei War. The war ended in 1185 when the Minamoto triumphed. Its leader, Minamoto no Yoritomo, became Japan's first shogun, establishing the Kamakura shogunate. Now the emperor would reign, but the samurai would rule. This was the birth of a warrior society built on honor, loyalty, and martial skill. Japan faced one of its greatest challenges during this time, the Mongol invasions of 1274 and 1281. The Mongols were fierce but powerful typhoons, later called kamikaze, or divine winds, helped Japan survive. Though victorious, the shogunate weakened, opening the door for new powers. In 1336, the Ashikaga clan took control, but Japan soon fractured into chaos. From the mid-1400s, began the Sengoku period, the Warring States era. For over 100 years, samurai warlords known as daimyo battled for land and power. Castles grew, armies expanded, and alliances shifted constantly. Into this age of war rose three legendary unifiers. Oda Nobunaga, ruthless, brilliant, introduced firearms, crushed rivals. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the strategist, unified Japan and even invaded Korea. Tokugawa Ieyasu, the patient one, who outlasted everyone. The Tokugawa period brought more than 250 years of peace. Samurai became bureaucrats. Cities flourished. Arts like kabuki, haiku, and ukiyo-e woodblock prints blossomed. But the shogunate feared foreign influence. So Japan entered Sakoku, a strict isolation policy. Foreign trade was heavily limited. Christianity was banned. Japan closed itself off from most of the world. For centuries, this isolation preserved Japanese culture, but it also meant Japan fell behind industrial powers. Everything changed in 1853. In 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry of the United States arrived with battleships. Japan was forced to open its ports. Chaos followed. The shogunate weakened. And in 1868, the Meiji Restoration began. The emperor was restored to power. The samurai era ended. Japan transformed at unbelievable speed. Railways, factories, schools, a modern army. Japan industrialized in just decades. By the early 1900s, Japan had become a world power. defeating China and even Russia in major wars. The empire expanded, but expansion soon led toward disaster. Japan entered World War II in 1937 with the invasion of China, and later attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941. The war spread across the Pacific, but by 1945, Japan was losing. Cities burned under massive air raids. Then came the attacks that changed history forever. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the first and only use of atomic bombs in war. Japan surrendered. The empire collapsed. The nation lay in ruins. But from here, Japan would rise again. Under US occupation, Japan rebuilt its government and industry. With innovation and discipline, Japan launched an economic miracle. By the 1960s and 70s, Japan was a global leader in cars, electronics, technology, manufacturing. Companies like Sony, Honda, Toyota, and Nintendo became world famous. In just decades, Japan transformed from devastation to one of the world's strongest economies. Modern Japan is a blend of old and new. Samurai heritage lives beside skyscrapers. Ancient temples stand near neon cities like Tokyo and Osaka. Anime, gaming, robotics, cuisine, fashion, and pop culture influence the entire world. Japan remains a nation unlike any other, shaped by nature, tradition, war, innovation, and resilience. From ancient hunter-gatherers to samurai clans to global superpower, Japan's journey is one of the most extraordinary stories in human history. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive history content. Thank you for watching.